Welcome to the Zag Talk Podcast Live. My name is Guy Danhoff, and I'll be your host tonight on a very special MOSHAPE special edition, as we're going to be joined with a few friends of ours from Heart Zones. And for those of you who may not know me, I am currently the MOSHAPE president-elect, and I'm also the host of this podcast. And to get things rolling right away, I want to bring in my co-host, none other than MOSHAPE president, Anna Forcelledo. And first question I have for Anna is, how are you? You've got to be pumped. You got to be excited. We're just 2 days away. What is going on, my friend?
Man, Guy, how are you doing? I'm excited. I'm leaving tomorrow. Okay. That's how excited I am right now because, we got a lot of stuff to do and we've got a lot of stuff to set up and to put out and to welcome all of our members with and to welcome all of our sponsors and our vendors and just everyone at the lodge. My car is not even a car this weekend. It is a minivan because I have my mom's minivan to get everything in one place. So I am stoked. It's good. It's time. We're ready.
All right. Well, why don't you introduce our very first guest for tonight with Heart Zones?
Absolutely. So we have two very special guests tonight. Our first special guest is a former past president of MOSHAPE, a dear friend of mine, and this in charge of the essential sales for Heart Zones. Sandy Moore, welcome to the show. How are you doing this evening?
I am fabulous. I am back in Missouri, and I am so excited to be at the lake this weekend and see all my PE peeps. I love it. Favorite time of year. It's kind of like Christmas.
Absolutely. And I'll go ahead and introduce our next guest, and that is, I have to tell you, I was very blessed. A little over a year ago, had the opportunity to do a podcast with her, just one-on-one, as we celebrated, it was Women's History Month, and we were celebrating the life of Beth Kirkpatrick. And we have with us tonight from Heart Zones, their Director of Education, Beth Kirkpatrick. Beth, how are you?
I couldn't be better. This is fantastic, and it was such a fantastic thing you guys did the last time, and I love Missouri. It's like my second state. So, and Sandy Moore is the best I've ever seen too for Missouri.
Thank you, Beth.
Absolutely. And so with that, I'm going to turn over the show because we really want to learn a lot about both of you as well as Heart Zone. So, Anna, why don't you kick us off?
Absolutely. So, gosh, tonight's such a special night. Heart Zones. I will let either one of you, Beth, if you'd like to answer, or Sandy, like to answer first. Your why. What is the why of Heart Zones, and a little bit about your personal why behind Heart Zones too?
Well, I was the first. I didn't know I was going to be the first, but I was possessed when I heard that the invention was the heart rate monitors were invented, and the distributor was going to be in Iowa. So I was possessed to have those for my students, and I couldn't see any other way. I couldn't see how we could keep on testing the cardio test and asking kids to go really, really hard or push them. And we never knew heart rate. And when we got done, we didn't have any information about the pre-exercise heart rate. What's a good resting heart rate for kids? What's a good recovery heart rate off of a max test, a sub-max test? And then how could I give half of my grade? We're giving out group prescriptions, exercise prescriptions, and we ought to be able to give out individual exercise prescriptions in a group setting so that everybody's going to the beat of their own heart. And we don't guess, we don't judge, we don't suppose that we can tell somebody to speed up or slow down. We let the invention that's dead accurate. And now that it shoots up in the wall and you see it, I went from having it every kid wearing it on the wrist and having a chest strap through the next 40 years. And to see it, I know Rick Schubach said, I lived to see the feasibility. I always was sure it was heart rate, but then when Heart Zones came out and reinvented the whole thing, and feasibility and the big board, and simplicity. I guess simplicity, and it's not possible for any physical education teacher, elementary, middle school, high school, and college, to have these and to use them back to back classes. And when they go home at 4 o'clock, they don't have to download like I did 2.5 hours a night for 15 years. It's instantaneous during the day.
100%. I love it. I love that it's super user friendly, as you know that our school has them, and the sustainability behind it is fantastic as well. So thank you for sharing all of that.
And then Sandy, why don't you, give us a little bit about this, because you've been so passionate about heart zones and the technology as being a frontline teacher for so many years, and certainly getting into the things that you've been doing and serving, MOSHAPE, and certainly traveling the country. And there's a reason why you love traveling the country, sharing with everyone about the heart zones technology. So what is your why?
Well, it kind of started back at UMSL. I played basketball in college, and Dr. Lowry was my professor at UMSL back in the, early 80s. And it kind of started when we were playing basketball, and it was after the season was over, and the men's team was at one end and the women's team was at the other end. We went out to get a drink, and one of the men's players went up for a rebound and was dead before he hit the floor. And that was in 1982. And, it kind of always, I was a basketball coach, and, you have group one run, group two, you get up and run, and group one, you get back up and run again. And, it amazes me how stupid I was, pushing kids the way that I did as a coach, and even myself, back in the day, my college basketball coach, and I've talked about it. And then, as in 2009, when I got our PEP grant out at Wentzville, we got the chest straps and tried to use those, but with 8th grade girls, it just didn't work too well. So we didn't use those a lot. And I kind of got into it then and thinking, oh my God, well, I ran into Beth. Beth had signed my book probably 25 years ago. Lessons from the Heart is the name of it. And she autographed my book years ago when she was with Polar. And I've just always thought, man, I got to listen to her, and I got to listen to, I got to go to Naperville, it's the PE capital of the world, and I got to do all of that stuff with our PEP grant, and started traveling the world, and just all of this information. So when Beth, showed up down at the lake, and I'm with all my Wentzville clan, and we're down at the lake, and we're sitting there, and she walks in. I hadn't seen her in 20 years, and she recognizes me, and she knows my name, and she's selling heart rate monitors. And I was just lucky enough to have, people like Mark Tiernan and Amy Schulte and Melanie Zaire and Sally Schulte, and all of those, all of my PE peeps from Wentzville was all on board with me, and we were able to get them. So I taught with them my last 3 years. But now that I've retired and I'm traveling the world, and, Beth got me hired with Heart Zones. So thank you very much for my part-time retirement gig. But it is amazing to me to hear how many people that have taught PE have had a student die in class. Sally Edwards is our owner, and she taught PE years ago. Her first year had a student die on our track, and she quit teaching, opened up the Fleet Feet company. And then Heart Zones is her passion or her fire, in her retirement. Terry Garner and I were talking in North Carolina. Terry had a student die on her on the track. There was a student teacher in Kentucky when he was student teaching that had a student die on the track. And with today's health crisis that our kids and the nation's in, because we're all so unhealthy, Joe Gooden's our vice president out in North Carolina last week. We were talking, 1 in 100 kids have a heart issue that has gone undetected, and heart rate monitors can be a red flag for anything. That's the first thing the doctors do. So, my big question is, my daughter's having a baby on Saturday. Before she leaves the hospital, she has to have a car seat. She cannot take that baby out without a car seat. But in this day and age, with the technology we have, you have to ride a bike with helmet and pads and all that kind of stuff to protect our children. But yet our government is not making it mandatory that we have a heart rate monitor on every kind. And it doesn't matter what kind, what brand it is. I just, Heart Zones is the best for us. But my thing is, there is no reason that our government does not make it mandatory for every kid in PE to have a heart rate monitor to protect the kid, to protect the teacher in the school district and everything. Because I've had at least 3 kids that I know of that have had open heart surgery because of these heart rate monitors that we picked something up in class.
That is such a good point. I remember when I got the heart rate monitors, and I thought it was up to the profession to stay up to date. I thought that's why we went to these in services, why we went back in the summers, why we got master's degrees and so forth, is that we were supposed to keep up with what was happening. We went from a typewriter lab to a computer lab. No one talked about how much that was going to cost. I'm very disappointed that the profession is turning out kids who have spent $100,000 or more for 4 years of college, and they're going to do a max cardio test without knowledge of heart rate before, during, or after. And they're going to come out without the ability to measure half of the grade. 50% of the grade is effort, and there is no documentation. So I'm extremely disappointed with the professionals who are training the teachers. It's our responsibility as a teacher, but it's even more so with the colleges to stay up to date and turn out sophisticated, up to date 22-year-olds.
It's kind of like, what I've told my math teachers. Does any math teacher in the nation teach math without a calculator in this day and age? It's the same thing.
I mean, the typewriters, we don't have typewriter labs.
Well, ladies, I'll just say this. I had the opportunity not too long ago, and I got to interview Haley Baker. You all know her really well from Farmington School District. And they said that the heart rate technology that you provide actually, when they were just getting set to begin, the PE class, they had two kind of elevated heart rates at rest that they were to detect some things, and they were actually able to get some help for those two students. So there is no doubt that the heart rate technology, certainly plays a role in what physical education teachers are asked to do, certainly from a safety standpoint. And, part of what we want to certainly do tonight is just to let everyone know, not just about the technology, but about, again, trying to get everyone to understand that, HPE is SCL, and heart rate monitor technology can make our lives easier. And like you said, Sandy, it doesn't really matter the company for some degree, right? To some degree, the point is that we need to continue helping to create awareness so that we can advocate for the technology in general. That is a big thing that needs to continue to happen, because I do agree with the notion of we need to have data to drive decisions. And you're talking about someone's life, and what better data than heart rate being one of those metrics.
Exactly.
I think too, the records, where's the records? You just, coaches, you just had my basketball players in volleyball for 3 months, or whatever it is. Please give me the data from your volleyball practices to let me see where these kids are, and then I'll take the data from my basketball practices and I'll hand them over to the track coach. We don't look at this, and we have nothing to look at. Nothing.
Yeah. So our next question is, in what ways has Heart Zones grown with the HPE profession? And we'll go ahead and start with you, Beth.
Well, I think it's the standard bearer. I think it was the company that came up with. Obviously, I've been with all the companies except one, I think, out there right now. And once I retired it 11 years ago, I thought I was done with the whole thing, and I'd only been with one company. And when I came back out, it was because it was reinvented, and I could go see it at Stillwater. I could go see it with my own eyes, and I really felt that I'm not coming out of retirement. I'm not leaving the lake unless it's just overwhelms me. And I had my shot. I had 40 years, and I felt kind of like I had failed, and it wasn't. I was unsettled. And when Rick Schubach said it wasn't that it wasn't the right idea, but the feasibility. Somebody had to invent it, but somebody had to first do the downloading for 15 years. He had to do all this. I don't know what possessed me to do that exactly, except I wanted to see the data. So when I went to see it in Stillwater, and they went home at 4 o'clock, they pushed a button. The kids pushed the button. That sent the data. It was like I first saw a heart rate monitor 42 years ago. It was so completely redeveloped, reinvented. And so now I couldn't imagine it was 1/5 the price. Simplicity, you can't break it. There's no buttons that are on the outside, and it's rechargeable batteries. So I thought they had looked at everything. And when I joined them, my husband said, well, it's what you talk about, all the time. And I had put the heart rate. I'm the only one that did this. Put the heart rate monitors on 30 Division I teams. So I put them on Pat Summit's team. We got to meet her, and show her this, or Coach K at Duke, and all the coaches I had to speak to. I was telling one of my sons that the other day. I spoke to all the coaches at Duke, including the Dodgers, and they'd never seen this or heard of this. So LSU, BYU, NC State, Kentucky, working with Diana Taurasi, in the Final Four with warming up the McDonald's All-Americans, putting them on them. I've tried every which way, traveled the world doing this, but the way that Heart Zones continues to change and have people working on stuff all the time. I mean, it's just unbelievable. We now have this portal where you can, as an administrator, you can see all the kids and all the classes right in your computer.
Oh.
Remarkable. And that's just come out. Isn't that right, Cindy?
Yes, that's fabulous.
So
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Another one of the huge things, Sally Edwards is the owner of this company, and she's a true businesswoman. She opened up Fleet Feet years ago, started it from scratch, sold it, retired, was bored, and she is the one that came up with the zoning theory. Orange Theory, the club, is based on Heart Zone's Orange Theory. But she is constantly going to, all the trade shows and everything, and her goal is to make America fit again. And she's just constantly upgrading and stepping up the game. And one of the new things that we're going to have is Katie Severinsen is Teacher of the Year, and I'm going to be presenting with her down at the lake. And she is one of the first ones in St. Louis that bought, I think Anna has her set now even. And Katie got those, but she was the one that first started. She says, when are they going to be able to hook the Apple Watch to Heart Zone's Connect? And that is going to happen in early 23. It's North Pole Engineering out of Stillwater, where that is the national showcase school for Heart Zones. But Rick Gibbs is his name, and he is, he's working on it, and it's going to be ready to roll out. So any kid that has a Apple Watch, the schools won't have to buy their sensor for them. And one of the things that I really like to say this to, I bought Heart Zones before I retired at Wentzville, and they are still in my building at Frontier Middle School. And I have kept track of the number of kids, because the principals there are still my buddies and everything. And the number of kids that have worn those is down to 17 cents a sensor. And they're 7 years old now. They're still working. And there is nothing in education that you can buy for that kind of a price that you're going to be able to use year after year after year and still work and do that.
The other thing, guys, that, she just released this, where the heart rate sensors record intensity in steps, heart rate, and distance in steps. So now you have distance and steps available on every printout. I mean, so now you have, if a kid's heart rate was 170 and they went 35 minutes, and they went 5,000 steps. But the next week, the kid was at 170 and he exercised for 30 minutes, but he went 1,000 steps. Well, what else was causing that heart rate to be so high? And we did all we could by keeping the heart rate where it should. But now we have the evidence to say, well, what else? Is it overtraining? Is it some kind of a, disease or drugs or
you can analyze it.
COVID, it could be COVID. But now that we know intensity and distance, it's a whole new ballgame again. I'm just amazed.
Yeah. I talked with Dr. Pangrazi last week out in Arizona, because he has been the pedometer guy for years. And when I told him that ours does both heart rate monitor or heart rate and steps, it blew his mind that this is where it was. So it's.
Yeah, absolutely. What I thought I would do is just to kind of show our audience a little bit. We're going to show the 6-second video bumpers that you have made that we're using in actually the promotion of our event coming up in just a few days. So I'm going to go ahead and play this for our audience. This is really cool. What you're going to see is the display that the teacher has to monitor over 20-some kids while a physical education class is going on live. All right, I'm playing that one more time because it's just that cool. All right, here we go.
That is cool. And what is really cool, there's about 20 kids on there.
Yeah.
That when I was teaching with that, it will hold up to 110. So
Wow.
when Ken Caston and I were teaching together, we had anywhere from 80 to 90 kids in the gym at one time. And every one of them was displayed, on the iPad and up on the big board too.
It was so funny when I was down in Missouri the last time, one of your, I think it was Mark Tierden that said,
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
or a couple of his buddies, we want to speak in your session. I said, well, I wish you'd take the whole thing. That would be fine. And so we've been using it with our elementary kids, really young kids. And he had everything on his iPad, and they talked for the whole time. They were just fascinated. He said a kindergartner can push the button, and then he can push it again. So it's everybody, K-12.
We should have had Sally Schulte on here. She's the first one that I knew of when she had them at Winsville. She told the kindergartners, all you need to worry about is getting your 3 stars before you leave.
And Rick said, stay in the yellow, mellow yellow.
Exactly. Yep.
And
Mark Tiernan is my backup for this weekend in case this grandchild comes early. Mark Tiernan's going to be working the Heart Zones booth and presenting with Katie and helping me out. So, he was one of my former students.
Amazing.
And the session is going to be amazing. It's going to be on Saturday at 1 p.m. in Granada, BNC. So make sure that you don't miss it. There's going to be a ton of information. Katie is a phenomenal teacher. I've had the honor of working side by side with her for, multiple years. Even Bear agrees, as we just heard him. And she's phenomenal. So I cannot wait to see it. Make sure you go in. You're going to be working up a sweat, and you're going to be learning a ton about heart rate technology with Heart Zones. So it's going to be a really awesome session.
Mark Tiernan and Nick Clements is presenting at 9 on Friday morning. Is that correct too?
They are doing a pre-convention from 9 to 11 in Marbella B and B. They're taking up all the Marballas.
Right. And they are going to use the Heart Zones in their session also. They always have for it because Mark and Nick, I'm so excited that Nick's coming back now that he's outside of the teaching world, that they're both fabulous.
They're so good looking too, I tell you.
It is.
Yeah, they will draw a crowd.
It is going to be a phenomenal session, and it's something that we were very intentional about creating this session. So I'm so happy that Nick and Mark have agreed to, and I mean, absolutely hands down, unanimously agreed to do this pre-convention for strength and conditioning. It's going to be targeted for K through 12 with the Heart Zones across the spectrum, and really just taking a holistic approach to strength and conditioning, and also the most important critical component with nutrition and how that all balances out to really make a lifetime of fitness.
And Tom Lowry and Laura Beckman, they have done so much. In every way, they've supported me, and encouraged, and they would say the nicest things. I was this, PE teacher out in the country, and they were from the big city of St. Louis, and big stuff. It was neat to have them all the time. What you're doing is unbelievable. What you're doing is unbelievable. And in my own school, everybody was going, well, I'm not doing it. Well, I'm not, And here was these guys saying, no, do it. We'll put you at the national convention. I said, where's that at? What is it? So I wouldn't have ever even come out to the national convention if it wouldn't have been for Tom and Laura.
Yep. And you know what? That's the thing too with Dr. Lowry. He is like a legend. I'm sorry, but his name's right up there with yours. And everywhere I go across the entire nation, when they find out that I'm from MOSHAPE, everybody, even in Arizona, it's first time to Arizona Shape last week, and everybody out there was like, "Oh my God, how's Doc Lowry doing?"
Oh, yeah.
And when I talk about Doc, they don't. That's what we've always called him, but they know him by Tom. But their ED out there, is from Missouri. His father-in-law was the superintendent at Parkway years ago.
I know.
So it's just Doc has so many connections, and the knowledge that man has is just irreplaceable.
He met me once, and he drove all the way 7 hours, 8 hours to watch, and he didn't. I don't think he wants to promote something that he hasn't seen, and he wanted to see it for his own eyes. And when he did, after that, he just helped me every step of the way.
Yeah, I just texted Doc too, because I was talking about the basketball player at UMSL, because he was there and I was there, and I couldn't remember his name, but Ron Tyler was the player's name that passed away,
right.
Back in the day. And,
I got a call from, I'm not going to say which fort, but they're losing 100 guys a year are dropping dead at boot camp. And this particular one, they wanted me to come there. So I went there, and they had lost two guys that year, 18 years old. And they want to know if I need, everybody said, well, call Beth Kirkpatrick. Well, I've never been to an Army base. Anyway, so I go there, and here's these generals and people, and I don't know. I said, I know why. You put them in packs of, just 15, 16, whatever it is in a group. Everybody runs and the guy that doesn't run as fast as everybody else is, he's the one that you make do more and more and more. And it should be the other way around. And, so I said, what you should do is put them in a circle, run them out 2 minutes, come back 2 minutes at the right heart rate. And pretty soon, then you could group them with the 9-minute runners, the 8-minute runners, the 7-minute runners, and then everybody would be able to be in a pack. But right now you've got a wide variety of people, and that's why you're killing them, I thought. I mean, positive.
Yeah, actually, Anna's got our next question. This is one that she asked all our guests, and here you go.
Well, we're so happy. Like, sponsorship is such a big deal. We're so honored about what's been created this year. And so really want to ask both of you, why choose MOSHAPE sponsorship?
Well, that's pretty easy for me. I've been with MOSHAPE for years.
Absolutely.
And when before I retired, I went to MOSHAPE for years, except it's always deer season. It was basketball season. So it took me a while, to get there. And like when I was with Doc back in college, I couldn't go because it was basketball season and I was playing in college. But as soon as I retired, Terry Garner, I was on the board, and Terry Garner said, we want you to run for president. And I was like, what? And me? So that kind of started it all. But then after I got involved and, with our PEP grant and everything, and I've retired, and, I make a little bit of extra money. It's kind of my play money on top of my pension. But I just wanted to give back because, it was all because I could shoot a basketball on the farm back in the late 70s after Title IX. But, and I was, typical back then. I went to college to play basketball, to be a basketball player. It wasn't to be a teacher. I was the first one to go to college in my family and graduate and everything. But then over years, it kind of changed that, PE was my main focus. And at the end of the, last 15 years, that was my only focus. And when I got out, I just wanted to give back. And so that's, Guy and I've talked about it for years, and Doc, that, I've got Heart Zones is sponsored, kind of behind the scenes for the last 4 or 5 years. Yeah. Heart Zones sponsored the first past president's social at Shape Tampa, before COVID. We had a lot of people come in. I personally put a lot of the extra money that, the little money I make extra from it. Like Guy and I sponsored the whatever that thing is that you have the backboard for that Guy does for his shows.
The media backdrop. Yeah, there you go. We'll have it on display in 2 days.
There you go. We got to get a picture with it.
Absolutely.
And
amazing.
It's just, I just want to give back, and you can't beat a better place to go to than the Lodge of the Four Seasons. It's been there forever. I've had so many people I ask everywhere I go for somebody to donate something for us to raffle off. So it's just me being able to go back and teach you. It's like Beth said, the young kids in college haven't seen heart rate monitors at all yet. And it amazes me what we're doing that. But if we're going to advocate and keep PE going, that's what we got to do. And going to Washington, D.C. with Dr. Lowry to, go to Speak Out Day and all that. Yeah. We just got to save this next generation of kids, because they just, I started out, playing hockey. My idea of hockey was, my brother and I playing on the farm with a stick and a frozen cow turd. So we've come a long way since then, but there's still so much further that we can go. And I want to, it keeps me young. PE keeps me young. That's what I want to do.
Well, yeah, for me, I mean, I got to, somebody put me up for the state teacher of the year for Iowa, and then you're in the Midwest, you're in the Central District, and then that's where Tom Lowry was. And then he said, well, you've got to come to Missouri. And then he came up, and then all of a sudden I was in all the school districts. Once you get in one school district, then they keep having it, and then the PEP grants hit. And then the company that I was using the heart rate, they hired me. They came out to Iowa and hired me to travel the world. And I said, what am I supposed to do? Just what you've been doing. Talk about how it works in physical education. So I didn't have to invent anything more really. But Tom Lowry.
Yeah, I have to say that, you both referenced Tom and Laura, and you're going to see some really exciting things that Tom has got planned. Also, Laura's going to make a huge announcement, as she's been working really hard on procuring more funding through some grants through the Missouri Healthy Schools, working in collaboration and in partnership with MOSHAPE. We're really excited to bring that announcement out. So the two of them have been working extremely hard, continuing to also pour, just really pour into our state. And we're very blessed as leaders. I can just tell you that we have two really strong leaders in them, and they've just had a tremendous impact on all of us. And anyways, it's just, I'm glad that you referenced both of them, because they're two of my big mentors, as I've been in this profession for about a decade now.
And Kathy Kinderfather, I kind of forgot about her.
Yeah, Kathy, obviously.
She really
all that I learned about her, and she's just MOSHAPE legend. I mean, nationally as well, but certainly her contributions here of when, the mark that she made here is just pretty darn amazing. And so, Sandy, we want to ask you this question. It's really important. Where, what's new or next for Heart Zones?
Well, we, the big thing right now is taking care of the, SEL in our schools. And, a few of our members probably realize in 2019, 3 weeks right before my presidency, my partner, Ed, he had a 20-year-old commit suicide 3 weeks before, my convention. And, I'd been around it with some of my students and that kind of thing first, but the state that our students are in right now, and then COVID has made it even worse, there's got to be something that we're missing. And I don't know what that is, but I was really blessed this summer. Heart Zone sent me to Montana and Idaho SHAPE and this summer. And the keynote speaker there, everything happens for a reason. And they sent me there for a reason. And Kendra Wallace is the lady's name that was the keynote there for Montana. And she is a principal outside of Chicago for just an SEL school. She is the director of SEL and has just a special school for that. And I have now hooked Sally Edwards, the owner, up with Kendra, and they are working on an SEL program. And she's got Heart Zones now, and they're working on that to help the students out with that and see what we can do as far as, helping our students be healthier. And it doesn't matter if it's, physical health, mental health, or, the social health. We've been teaching the health triangle for years in our health class, and it's just really time that, we really need to push that.
I think with anxiety, I think we can measure anxiety. If a kid wears the heart rate sensor for the day in the life of, we'll see some anxiety.
I agree, Beth. I think you definitely will. And as a frontline teacher, teaching seventh grade, we do teach the health triangle, but I do think that we are missing something. There's the connection that we are missing that needs to be addressed, and that we really need to even look at those health triangles in a different capacity, and questioning, asking what that is, and really looking at meeting our students where they are and using the heart rate technology in every aspect. And I love the idea about what you mentioned with the anxiety, because I think that you will really see something, especially circling back to, their PACER test. They have anxiety just leading up to that. So their heart rates are already going to be escalated from the get-go, just if their kid is standing there, which could, be a deterrent for their performance on their test.
I heard of a stat when I was redesigning how I taught physical education. I made it a non-competitive environment in every way. I designed this system called the Ultra Shuffle that I'll be doing a webinar on in a month or two. And it took me 4 years to take competition out of games, which nobody knows how to do, and 90% of all kids, all people, are not competitive. Only 10% are. And yet we forced everybody into this competitive world as if they want to be the president. They want to win every game. They want to start on the basketball team or whatever it is. And it's kind of shocking to think that maybe they don't. And they're in this PE environment. And that's why the Ultra Shuffle is a non-competitive way of playing all games.
Yeah, Beth, you really bring up a really good point. Last night, Ann and I were co-hosting a show. We had on U.S. Soccer Foundation, Lisa Perry, and she said almost the exact same words on how they use the game of soccer to do this. It's just really fascinating that, again, with that stat you just threw out there about how they're taking the competition out and focusing more on, the fun aspect of the game, as well as some of the skill development. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of different ways to look at that. And I just find it really fascinating what companies like Heart Zones and certainly the U.S. Soccer Foundation are doing to offer alternatives.
Well, we can tell when a kid is really hyped up. And if they're in your classroom, we used to put them on, the guidance counselor would put them, identify some kids. And so this kid over here really has anxiety issues and will all of a sudden blow up. Well, if his heart rate started to go a little bit too high and went up into the 130, 140 sitting still, it would beep, and everybody around him, it wasn't so much him, but everybody around him would know that he was about to erupt. So it would give a warning sign, and the kid had to remove himself from the class, go out in the hall, go down to the counselor's office. Everybody knew, the kids around him knew, the teacher knew we don't want him at 190 sitting down.
Exactly.
And just going crazy. So there was a way to signal this. And so the kid was using it to self-monitor.
Yep. I worked with one of my teachers at my building, Susan Miller. She is one of the best teachers that I've ever worked with. And she worked with behavior kids. And that was one of the things we did. We implemented, some exercise, and we got exercise balls and treadmills and everything. So those kids, because the kids don't want to do that. They just don't know how. So you got to teach them how. And when we got the heart rate monitors, it was the best thing. She could use those, and we taught the kids how to self-regulate, and it just really helped those kids. And a couple of them ended up being awesome. They went off and, joined the Army and came back and thanked us and just really turned his life around and that kind of thing. And there's just so much to teach.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I remember Dale Brown telling me that he went to recruit this 7'2" guy. I think it was in Illinois. And what if a kid was just always full of anxiety playing the game of basketball, but you're 7'2"? So he was at the state championship. They're never going to take a 7'2" guy out in high school. He's going to be on the floor.
Right.
And but you don't know if he's embarrassed or shy, or this just bothers him to be walking out on the floor. And Dale said he was sitting there, and the boy had a heart attack and dropped dead. And everybody said, "Oh, my first thought was, well, yeah, I'm sure it was a congenital heart defect or something, and maybe, I think we're not here to diagnose. That isn't what the product is for, but to give indicators. But what if it was anxiety? And now he's out there going as hard as he can, and you put the two together. How awful is that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I thought I'd like to do right now is we're going to do what's called a Zag Bomb.
Uh-oh.
And I know, well, I got to
Look
bring on
out.
somebody who actually has been using the product a lot. And I can't wait to hear his story, as he's a teacher at the Lee Summit School District, and none other than our MOSHAPE Director of Communications and Marketing, Chris Staley.
Nice
Chris,
hat.
I know he's got the hat, he's styling, he's profiling, he's got, he's just got it all set up. So Chris,
Young and hip.
talk to us about, as a PE teacher, how you're using Heart Zones, to really add a lot of value to your classes.
Yeah, so I'm very thankful for Sandy because, when Sandy was our MOSHAPE president, I was on the committee that you were the chair of, Guy,
Yeah.
and actually on her way out, you
Yeah.
moved into a different role and I took over for the chair. And, Sandy's a dear friend of mine. She's my PE mom. And then she hooked me up with Beth. And so I finally got to meet Beth. I met Beth in person at a MOSHAPE convention, but then in New Orleans, I got to reconnect with her. So that was great. And so, Sandy's done a lot for me outside of Heart Zones, but, COVID came and she said, "Hey, why don't you try these out?" And did a sponsorship. And, Heart Zones has sponsored MOSHAPE for a while now when we did the MOSHAPE minutes a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just very grateful for that. But yeah, it's really since we're talking about MOSHAPE presidents here, Patrick's theme was level up. So it's really leveled up my class. You know, my 3rd through 5th graders love using them. Beth and Sandy, all of us were talking before the show. It brings up more of how you can apply what we're doing in PE to real life, right? It's not just when we do the pacer test, for instance, it's not who can break the school record. You know, there was a record board in my gym when I got there. I took it down because my focus is not who can beat the school record. And Beth said it best before the show is if Guy gets 35 laps in the fall, we want to do better in the spring. But the thing that's tricky is, you know, kids see their heart rates on the board and they're like, oh, I want to get my heart rate up to 200. And then so I saw that a little bit of an issue with that. But so what we did, what's great about Heart Zone's program is you can flip the tiles, and there's a graph tile, which is great. But there's also, it shows fit points and, you know, the calories you burned and all these things. And so some students are like, Coach, I got up to 200 and Billy over there did not and has more fit points. And we talk about, you know, sustainability, keeping your heart rate in that yellow for a longer period of time, right? And we just talk about those things. And, you know, when we do that with our fitness testing, you know, we talk about, okay, can you achieve 35 laps at 160 heart rate? And then can you get 40 next time at that same heart rate without overexerting yourself and possibly damaging yourself? Because like Beth said earlier before the show, your heart is a muscle, right? And we've got to make sure we're taking care of it. So how I use it in class is actually really great. My kids come in, they do a Health Moves Minds social emotional learning check-in, and then I have an interactive flat panel, which is great. My district provided that for me. And right there's little gifs of me if we're wearing our heart rate monitors that day, or if we're not, depending on, you know, the activity. Monday through Thursday, we wear them. Fridays, we have a shorter schedule because it's a late start Friday. So, but they come in, they put them on, and they get started on an instant activity that they already know.
And it takes like what, 10, 15 seconds for them to get them on. And you're even elementary.
Yeah. We do a heart rate monitor training week. Because I have my kids for a week-long rotation. So Monday we do the training, Tuesday we start like using them, and then by Wednesday it's like clockwork. And I always tell them, you know, find a partner. If you need help putting it on, find a partner. And you know, it's super easy to use. They've completely updated their system within the past month too, where you can upload your rosters from your computer, and it's like a cloud that skips over to your iPad. So it's made it super easy. So my kids put them on, do an instant activity that they already know. And then after about 5-10 minutes of that instant activity, they come to their spots. And then we calm down for a second, do some deep breathing, and then we do a fitness activity. And then after that, we get to our unit activity. So for instance, we just finished our ultimate football. And what's really cool is at the end of class, the last 5 minutes, they come back to their spots and we talk about, you know, their fit points. And I tell them their goal, like, hey, you know, and for instance, when we're doing basketball unit, you should achieve more fit points than when we're doing bowling. And we talk about different sports and different activities of why, all right, you know, and it's also great for participation piece, right? But we talk about, you know, the different reasons why your heart should be higher and lower. But using those charts at the end of the day, it's really cool because like the chart goes up when they're doing their instant activity, and then down when they're cooling down, and then up doing fitness, and then down, then back up. So we just talk about, you know, if you have students that are trying this technology, and the first time you get, especially if you're at the elementary level, what does every kid want to do? I want to get in the red and I want to get as high as I can. But then I tell kids, you know, some of the, you know, it's usually the kids that aren't shy to do it, right? You guys talked a little earlier about the anxiety piece. Those kids that are super competitive, what are they doing? They're trying to get over 200 in the red. They just want it high. And so I talk about, you know, if you think you're the most in shape or best athlete or those things, because in my class, I try and get away from that athlete standpoint. You're kindergarten through fifth grade, right? Where this is not a varsity football class. This is physical education to learn how to be physically active for the rest of your life and be healthy people. And so I tell my students, you know, that are sitting there trying to get their heart rate just higher and higher, you know, my resting heart rate's in the 50s. So it's going to be harder for me to get up to 200. And I explained to them, you know, some of the greatest, Michael Phelps and those guys, you know, Lance Armstrong with the Tour de France, those guys' resting heart rates are 30s, 40s, right? And everybody's heart is different. Like you can't change your resting heart rate. You can improve your heart health. And that's what we talk about. It's not about achieving the highest heart rate. And then, also you can use it as not a disciplinarian piece, but more of a, okay, we're doing bowling right now. Why is Jimmy's heart rate 189? So then you can look over at Jimmy and you see, oh, he is over there taking the bowling ball and just throwing it up in the air and climbing the wall, or he's on the rock, those kinds of things. So it's a great assessment piece for multiple reasons, right? Beth and I talked about before, like, what if you're not using this technology, how are you assessing the fitness component of it?
How are you justifying your grade?
Exactly. Exactly. And we're very fortunate at the elementary level at my school. They don't necessarily get a grade for specials, but it's still, for me, an assessment piece.
Right.
And guys, I've had parents come in on parent teacher conference night and say, hey, do you want to see what this technology is? And they'll put on a heart rate monitor, and I'll just do a demo class where it just has the numbers, and what's cool is also with the technology, if you haven't used it, is you have a choice of putting the kids' names on the board or just a number. I started with the numbers, but the thing is the kids know each other's numbers anyways. And general consensus, there are those kids that are anxious, but most kids like seeing their name up on the board. Most kids, they're like, oh, my name's up on the, okay. Don't even, some of them don't even
it's like being on TV.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
So, and I always make a point, because you start learning who those kids are that are anxious to do it. They're kind of slow putting it on. They're the last ones to turn it on. They're just kind of, so I always make a point to say, Sandy, you did a great job today. Look how many fit points you achieved and how many stars you've got and your percentage, and look at your chart, because I think that's important. A lot of those kids, they love seeing their chart go way up, but I like to point out those kids that are just stable across that 40-minute PE class, because we all know that is what's better for them than just skyrocketing and then dropping right back down. It's like, okay, now there is, like in Anna's situation at the middle school level, if she's doing like a high intensity interval training session, like a HIIT training, it is going to spike up and then back down. But so it's just a great piece of technology. And the things that my third graders are saying about their heart is just, it's incredible.
The things you're able to teach is unbelievable with this.
Chris, I'm pretty sure you're going to take me out of my job. That was fantastic.
Well, I'm hoping,
Andy.
I'm hoping I hit on this Powerball so I don't have to work period anymore. But,
you got a
Don't
future
travel with me then, Chris.
You got a future with.
Thank you.
You're on mute, Beth. There.
I thought I probably should be.
No, Chris, outstanding job. I mean, we're just so excited.
Did you find it, Andy?
Chris, as we get set to wrap up the show, just want to thank you for coming on and taking the time. And I know you came home a little earlier, or at least you made up time or whatever, but I'm glad you're here. Yeah. And we really appreciate what you and your team's going to be doing at MOSHAPE coming up in a few days. And I guess get nostalgia. It kind of all did start for us in Sandy's presidency. That was kind of when I was first, doing the things that I was doing between MOSHAPE that year. Chris recruited you. And then you look at all the things we've collectively done together in these last 4 years, and it's just been quite a ride. And yeah, man, I just appreciate you so much, and certainly all that you're doing as a frontline physical education teacher, especially with those young ones.
You too, Guy. You too, all that you do to promote this. That's a skill and an art.
It is a huge thing back, we were just very blessed when when Stephanie Morris came in and Jamie Sparks, Jamie was in, I don't even remember where, he was a keynote in Florida when I was at the convention. Yeah. And I didn't realize that him and I went to San Diego that same time to Shape San Diego. And I was the first person that Jamie met before it started that day. And, we've all been friends with Kentucky people, and just the whole nation is just like taken off with, the strong leaders that we have everywhere. You got Judy and you got Kim, and, there's just so many, with the Health Moves Minds. I was telling my mom this morning with this political stuff that's going on TV, we teach our kids, to be nice and do all this stuff. I made a post today. It's like our politicians and our government need some Shape America Health Moves Minds right now before they go out to campaign, because it's ridiculous, the stuff that they say to each other. It's like, we need PE people in charge. We'll fix it.
And Anna, too, you've been wonderful. I'll tell you what, you guys are so young. Are they even eligible? Are they eligible to be? Guy, Sandy, are they eligible to be presidents? I mean, what is this?
Well, I'm thinking that I'm still in their age group in my own mind. The wrinkles on my face right here doesn't look that way, but
Sandy, we've seen you when the music comes on. You're still all right.
There you go.
Yes,
I tried. I tried.
You do, Sandy. We're just grateful to have all of you here and for just for all your wisdom, both of you, your wisdom, your knowledge, your experience, and just sharing everything tonight. Really, just really appreciate it. And thank you for the kind words. Beth, I actually first met you a very long time ago as a future professional with Jen Hadler and Lisa Neeser. And they're super wonderful, great friends of mine still to this day. And I always knew that the heart of technology had to be the center of something that we would be doing as quality health and PE teachers. It has to be the center. It has to be in the forefront, and it has to be used. We have to make sure that we are taking care of our kids, and we have to show them how to take care of themselves. And that is one of the most important things, and not just taking care of themselves in one specific area, but in all facets of their life. They need to be able to know how to do that and feel good about who they are becoming and the choices that they're making.
Right. And Greg Lawrence is the director of technology at Wentzville that helped me pick these out. And I totally respect him. And he's the one that picked them out. But I knew that we were picking the right thing when Mary Dreemeyer, our technology director, bought Heart Zones at the same year that I did. And you know how awesome Mary is. So Mary's like the guru of technology, and, she picked these out also. But one of the things that Guy and I have talked to, and Guy, I'm going to drop this, but Guy and I have talked about it for, 3 or 4 years now. But one of the things that I want to do in my old age and all this, now that, I'm blessed to have my pension, which is fabulous in Missouri, had a great career, and I'm with, Heart Zones. And now I've picked up the Ned Show. But one of the things that I'm going to do, a percentage of Heart Zones, I am personally, out of my small paycheck, but a little bit it's going to go with every purchase in every state that I sell is going to go back to that state. So anybody that purchases Heart Zones in Missouri, we're going to, there's going to be a check going. And then also with the Ned Show, I picked it up, and it's a character ed and it's an SEL thing. And Heart Zones is kind of working a little bit with them, and it's just something new. But for every school that signs up to do the Ned Show, and the owner, Arnie Dixon's going to be at the lake this weekend, I'm personally going to donate $25 for every booking from the Ned Show to MOSHAPE 2. So my goal is 1,000. So $25 times 1,000.
Yeah.
So challenge Missouri teachers. My goal is 1,000. So I know that a lot of those people, we're going to give them sight. Chris, you're going to be the first one. Kansas is winning right now. They've already got 8 in the last month signed up. Montana's got 7. Idaho has 12. So Missouri, it's kind of, and Kentucky's in on it too. So we know we got a little bit of competition here. Who's
we're ready to beat that. We always love a competition. MOSHAPE is always up for a healthy.
I'm not getting a tattoo with a yo-yo or a net on it, though. Just saying that.
You never know what happens at a MOSHAPE convention. The inspiration can be very creative, become very creative and powerful.
Exactly. I would get a heartbeat, our little heartbeat signal. Beth and I'll get matching tattoos right on our forehead.
Hey, we can start, we have lots of research that we've already discussed about where we need to go to make this happen. We're on it.
Let's do it.
It means that Beth needs to come to the lake then this weekend as well, if possible. That would be amazing.
She's in Michigan.
I'm in the north, Michigan.
That's okay. We can plan it. You all can come down, and we'll plan another trip then.
There we go.
You don't want to miss the Ned Show, because that is also going to be at 1 p.m. on Friday afternoon. I believe it is in Granada A. So that will be a great opportunity for y'all to see what this no-cost program provides with innovative yo-yo program in quality HPE. So, Guy, I know I didn't mean to cut you off, but I just want to make sure that we knew when the Ned Show was going to be having their presentation this weekend.
No, absolutely. And Sandy, I've got some incredible news. This was just posted literally 5 minutes ago about the aforementioned Mary Dreemeyer. This is coming straight from MOSHAPE, right on our Facebook page. Our executive director, Doc Lowry, doesn't disappoint. And here's what he says. It is with great pride I announce the following. Mary Dreemeyer, an incredible asset to MOSHAPE through her selfless and positive contributions, has just been selected at Outdoor Tomorrow's Foundation National Outdoors Education Teacher of the Year.
Not surprising at all. Congratulations,
that is
Mary.
Huge. Absolutely. Congratulations, Mary.
Mary's on here too. She told me, she texted me that she was watching.
Is she watching? Well, there
congratulations, Mary. Well deserved.
Absolutely.
Yep. Mary's fabulous.
As Tom says, this is yet another indicator of what she has contributed to our profession. And she is certainly one of the best of the best, both as a teacher as well as what she does for us and serves with us, certainly heavily on the technology side as well. So I just thought I'd bring in that breaking news. You know me, I love breaking news, and that's pretty cool. So, and as we wrap up the show, I kind of want you to give our final word. But just before we do that, though, Sandy, you want to direct people where to go if they want to get more information on Heart Zones?
Well, they can always contact me, and I will make sure that they point them in the right directions. But I am a Missouri sales rep for Heart Zones. So if you go to heartzones.com, it's on there. And, everybody has my phone number and my email, so they can catch me there. And I am headed to the lake tomorrow. So I'll be in and out. And I think I'm going to put a box on the table with grandma names. So we can, get ideas for if it's going to be Granny or G-Ma or,
Hey, you know what? It's my favorite name. My favorite name is Grandma.
There you go.
I can't wait.
Your kids call you, Beth?
Grandma. I wanted to be Grandma. My grandma. I had two grandmas. I'm a grandma. These strange names that they come up with that are.
I know. I'm strange though, Beth. I gotta have a strange name.
I'm glad I lived to be old. I've outlived all the people on my one side of the family. My dad had the heart attack, and my grandmother had the heart attack, and they had the heart attacks at 57. And I was 4 years old when my grandma dropped dead, and I'll never forget that.
Yep.
Never. It's one of the reasons I'm sure that's in the back of my mind all the time.
I know.
Why did my grandma die? Why did my grandma die so young?
Exactly.
I always
say. It's awesome. We want to thank Sandy. We want to thank you. We want to thank, obviously, Beth, you. And again, we always love hearing your stories. You've seen so much. Both of you have done so much for this profession, certainly advocating for heart rate technology and for this profession and SCL. And just, again, from the bottom of MOSHAPE, we just want to say thank you. Chris, thank you for zagging in, my friend. And Anna, you get the final... Yeah, and you get the final word because you are the president of MOSHAPE.
I don't know about that. I always get the final word, guy.
Well, thank you so much. And for everyone, once again, for all of you joining us this evening. And we cannot wait to see all of you at the Lodge of Four Seasons for our Sharing Our Story 2022 convention. We want to say a huge shout out to all of our sponsors, especially Heart Zones, for just contributing and for being such an amazing piece of this convention. We cannot wait to see all of you at the lake in 2 days. I will also be leaving tomorrow. So Sandy, I'll see you there. And I'll have a wonderful rest of your evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for organizing this, guy. You're fabulous.
Thank you.
You too, Chris, boy.